So, but people are still joining, and that may take a few minutes. So far, we're up to 21 folks.
Honey Chang is a former commissioner as well. Randy Speck. I'm trying to see who else is there.
Commissioner Grunwald.
Jim Nash. Jim Nash also served.
Right. Current commissioners, Commissioner Grunwald. Carol.
Simmons is joining.
Yep, there she is.
All right, for those of us who just joined, we're still got some people coming in moment by moment. So we're going to take a few more minutes to make sure we don't have anybody in the waiting room.
Is there anyone else who can let people in while you're talking?
Commissioner Nagy has.
I didn't sign in through the ANC, so.
You should be co-host. You should be able to admit people. Can you see the waiting room?
I cannot, no.
Okay, that's okay.
No, I don't see it. It should. How many more people are in the waiting room, Laura?
We don't have anybody at the moment, so I can go ahead.
25, there are 25 participants, including us, so maybe we could start.
All right. We can do that. And I will admit people as they come in. Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Finizzi. I am chair of the ANC, and along with the Chevy Chase Community Association, we're happy to host this Zoom tonight about the new ranked choice voting procedures. Just a few technical notes of the meeting. If you are not speaking or introducing yourself, you might want to consider having your video off. It'll save bandwidth, especially if we get a large number of people. If you would like to speak, please use your raise your hand feature down at the bottom to indicate that you'd like to speak. And very important, please make sure that you mute your microphone when you are not speaking, because that'll reduce reverb. This meeting is being recorded. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Samantha Nolan from the Chevy Chase Community Association.
Hi, I wanted to also say that we will have Q&A after the program, so hold your questions until then. I'm Samantha Nolan. I'm past president of the Chevy Chase Community Association. We also have Jory Barone, who is our secretary, and Sandy Seiler, who's our treasurer representing our association tonight. The CCCA was established in 1909 and has been representing the Chevy Chase community ever since, long before ANCs even existed. And if you have been to a Chevy Chase DC Day, then you know our organization, because that is our biggest event each year. Along with that, every month we have an informational meeting where we try to present something to our neighbors that will inform them about events that are going on in our community or in the city. And in April, we're going to hold candidate forums. We'll have at least 4, and please watch for the dates, times, and locations for those forums. We're going to hold some of them at St. John's and others around our neighborhood. If you're not a member already, we invite you to learn more about our association, and the website for our association is in the chat box already. So we're going to learn about ranked choice voting tonight, and this is really important to understand, because your vote could be disqualified if you don't follow the instructions. So it's really important that you're here tonight. We welcome you, and we're glad that you're here to learn. We've invited the director of the Board of Elections, Monica Holman Evans, to be with us tonight. She is our guest speaker. And as Laura said, we're going to have everybody muted while she's speaking. And please remember, if you have questions, there will be time afterwards to answer. And I'll turn it back over to Laura.
Great, thank you. And again, we are co-hosting this, the ANC. So my name is Laura Finney. I'm chair of the ANC and also have single member district 4, which is the area between Broad Branch on the west and Utah on the east between Western and McKinley. It includes Lafayette Corner Park and Lafayette School. And with us tonight are a number of ANC commissioners. I'll start with Vice Chair Nagy.
Yeah, hi, I'm Liz Nagy, and I'm Commissioner for ANC SMD 07, 34G 07, which is from Military to Chevy Chase Parkway on the south, Reno on the west, and Nevada on the east. Thank you so much for coming to this. I'm really looking forward to this, and thank you to CCCA for co-hosting this with us. We really appreciate it, and to Director Evans for coming to speak with us.
And just going down my screen, I see Commissioner Goslin is here.
He can learn to unmute. He is here. I'm Peter Goslin. I'm the commissioner for District 6, which is largely the west side of Connecticut, back to Friendship Heights, with the peninsula to the east going to Nevada between Military and Legation. Welcome and thanks to both Director Evans and to Gary Thompson, our neighbor and head of the Board of Elections, for being here tonight.
Apologies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Apologies.
And next I see Commissioner Simmons.
Hi, Commissioner Corinthia Simmons. I'm the single member district 05, which is the east side of Connecticut from Legation down to Western Avenue, all the way back to Broad Branch on the divider between Ward 3 and 4. And my single member district also includes the library and community center. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I believe I see Commissioner Grunwald.
Yes, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to learning quite a bit this evening. I'm the commissioner for SMD 03, which is bounded by Utah Avenue to the northeast, 27th Street to the east, Broad Branch to the south and to the west, McKinley on the north, then it jogs north and east along Nebraska where it rejoins Utah Avenue. Thank you.
Okay, and since some of us joined after my initial technical remarks, I just want to make sure to make the Zoom run smoothly. If you're not asking a question, if you could keep your video off, it'll save bandwidth. Also, please stay muted. That will help reduce reverb. You can utilize the chat to put questions in there, but the question answer will be after the initial, after the presentation. Okay, and with that, I would like to turn it over to Monica Evans.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Before I get started, I would like to just acknowledge our board chair, Gary Thompson, who is on the call, and I'd like to allow him to greet you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, and a former ANC commissioner.
Yeah, I think I know just about everybody on this call. It's nice to see everyone. I had the pleasure of serving on the ANC for 8 years, overlapping with both Samantha Nolan and Randy Speck. And I've also had the pleasure to chair our Board of Elections for, I think it's 4 years now, in my 5th year. And it's going very well. It is a busy job. There's a lot to do, a lot of responsibility in a busy election season, but it is all very manageable and easy from my perspective because our executive director is fabulous. Monica Holman Evans is a real professional, super experienced. She really knows what she's doing, and she leads an incredible staff. So our city is in very good hands with our Board of Elections. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Director Evans to walk us through ranked choice voting and what's ahead.
Thank you, Gary. And I promise I did not pay him to say those kind words about me, but I do appreciate it. I have a staff member, Yo-Yo Kabiti, who is on the line, and I'm not sure if she has been given sharing privileges. She will be running the slide deck this evening.
Sure, just give me one moment. Let me just check. Okay. Ms. Kabiti, I believe you should be ready to go. See if you can share screen.
Hi, I'm not able to do so yet. Okay, thank you. I think I have access now.
Thank you. So again, thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. It's very important that we make every effort to reach the residents and voters in the District of Columbia about changes to the way we will vote beginning in 2026. And ranked choice voting is the voting method that will be implemented. And so it definitely has some distinctions from the way we are traditionally used to voting in the district. So I really appreciate this opportunity to share, and I hope you will take this information, share it with others. And please know, in addition to this presentation, we have many informational materials available. We have many on our website, but if you would like to get flyers, palm cards, frequently asked questions to distribute to neighbors or those in your community, please reach out to us and we will be happy to share those materials with you. Next slide. So yes, ranked choice voting is here. And so in the November 2024 general election, voters overwhelmingly said yes to I-83, which established ranked choice voting as a method in DC. And then the method was funded by the council in our FY 2026 budget. And so now we are responsible for implementing ranked choice voting for all elections we administer. And so we will begin with the June 16 primary and special elections, and then it will also be in place for the general election in November. Next slide. And ranked choice voting will essentially apply to all elections and all contests. For those of you who may have heard about ranked choice voting in other jurisdictions, you will notice that DC has pretty much the broadest implementation and rollout of ranked choice voting. Many jurisdictions may just implement RCV for the primary or the general, but not both. And then some other jurisdictions will just limit RCV for a particular contest. But essentially in DC, any contest with 3 or more qualified voters will be subject to ranked choice voting, and for essentially every office or every contest, with the exception of political party offices. And so you can see here that will include those on this Zoom tonight, ANC commissioners. Next slide. And so, as I mentioned, other jurisdictions have implemented ranked choice voting. And so there are many models. And so I would just question people who want to go to the internet, go to YouTube to learn more about ranked choice voting, because you need to make sure you are clearly understanding how it is being implemented in DC. And so we are really trying to establish ourselves as the trusted source when it comes to ranked choice voting, just to ensure you are following the rules as they govern RCV and DC. And those rules were not decided by us. A lot of people have asked me and asked members of the board why we are doing it this particular way. And we are following the legislation, and the legislation aligns with the ballot measure that was put forward. So we were given the legislation, and it was merely our job to draft legislations that align to the legislation. And so essentially, again, ranked choice voting will apply to each contest that contains at least 3 qualified candidates. Candidates will rank in the order of their preference, but to be declared a winner in a ranked choice voting contest, that candidate must cross the 50% threshold or receive a majority of the votes. Next slide. So here you will see just an example of what a ranked choice contest is going to look like on a ballot. You will see a number of candidates, but then you will also have 5 or up to 5 columns to rank those candidates. And so you would give your first choice candidate your first vote, your second choice candidate the second vote or the second column, and so on. Please note that ranking additional candidates will not in any way harm your first choice. Your first choice candidate will always be active as long as that candidate remains on the ballot. And you are not required to rank 5 candidates, or you're not required to rank at all. So you can just rank one candidate and vote for that one candidate as you always have, or you could choose to rank fewer than 5 candidates. Next slide. So we're trying to really educate about mistakes to avoid and things that could potentially make your contest inactive. It will not invalidate your entire ballot, but a particular contest on a ballot may be made inactive. So this is one example where the voter has chosen to vote for Donald Duck for first, second, and third choice. The first choice for Donald Duck in the first column will count. That is a valid vote. And so if this voter selects Donald Duck number 1, as long as Donald Duck remains on the ballot and in rounds of tabulation, this voter has not in any way harmed their chances of this contest being inactive. It's only if Donald Duck receives the fewest number of votes and Donald Duck comes off of the ballot, and we would move to a second choice. And because this particular voter has voted for Donald Duck multiple times, all subsequent votes for Donald Duck would be invalid and would cause this contest to become inactive at this point. So again, Donald Duck would count in the first round of tabulation, but there would be no valid votes in subsequent rounds of tabulation. And so we will see that here. So in the next ballot, we have Beyonce as the first choice, but then the voter chose Donald Duck and Chuck Brown for the second choice. Again, this first choice is a valid choice as long as Beyonce stays on the ballot and is not removed via a round of tabulation. This voter is fine. It is only if Beyonce comes off of the ballot by receiving the fewest number of votes that the contest would become inactive at the second choice. Again, Beyonce would count at the point that Beyonce comes off of the ballot and we have to move to a second choice, then this is where this ballot would become inactive. Next slide. So here's another mistake to avoid. However, this mistake will not cause your ballot to become inactive. Here, this voter has skipped one ranking. If you skip a ranking, it is not a fatal flaw. If you skip a ranking, this is essentially akin to you just ranking 3 people, 1, 2, and 3. So here this voter has skipped the second ranking and then has ranked 3 and 4. So this would be the equivalent of ranking someone first, second, and third. So in this instance, the tabulation would be Beyonce 1, Donald Duck 2, and Chuck Brown 3. In the next example, where we have 2 skipped rankings and then a vote, this is a fatal flaw, as I call it. You cannot skip 2 consecutive rankings. At any point that you skip 2 consecutive rankings, at that point, your ballot becomes invalid or inactive for that particular contest. It will not invalidate the entire ballot, but just this contest. So here, the voters skipped the first choice and second choice. And so as soon as we get to that second skip choice, this contest becomes inactive. If this voter had voted for Beyonce first, then skipped 2, and then voted for someone in the fourth choice, the first choice would be fine. The ballot only becomes inactive at the point of the 2 consecutive skips. So if the 2 consecutive skips are 4 and 5, then the rankings and the votes for choices 1, 2, and 3 would be valid and would count. Next slide. So essentially, the premise around ranked choice voting is a candidate needs to receive 50% of the votes in a contest. And if a voter does not receive 50% of the votes in a contest, that is when we begin the tabulation process. During each round, the candidate with the fewest number of votes is removed from the ballot. Even though we're ranking up to 5 candidates in a contest, only 1 vote is valid at a time. And so whoever you select as your first choice in that first column, if that individual remains on the ballot and is never eliminated in subsequent rounds of tabulation, then that is where your vote remains. We only go to a second, third, fourth, or fifth choice vote as your candidates come off of the ballot due to receiving the fewest number of votes. And we're going to show an example of that. Next slide. So if this is your ballot and we have candidates A, B, C, and D, and we look at how the votes were distributed after we look at the first round of tabulation, we can see here that no candidate has received 50% of the votes. Candidate A is leading, and so in the traditional way we have voted in DC, candidate A would be declared the winner through plurality because they have the most votes. However, now a candidate must cross that 50% threshold. And so here, no candidate has crossed the 50% threshold. And so we look at the candidate with the fewest number of votes. Here, that would be candidate C, having only received 3 votes. And so candidate C would be removed from future rounds of tabulation. And then we look at all of the voters who voted for candidate C, and we look at who they selected as their next choice. So candidate C comes off, and we can see that those voters were split on who they wanted to have as their second choice. One selected A, one selected B, one selected D. However, you can see we still do not have a candidate crossing the 50% threshold. And so now at this point, we look at the candidate with the fewest number of votes. That would be candidate D. So now we would look at all of the votes for candidate D, and we would see who those voters selected as their next choice. And so with D coming off, we see that 2 votes went to A and 5 votes went to candidate B. Those 5 votes going to candidate B allow candidate B to cross the 50% threshold. And so now candidate B would be declared the winner. And so we can see how ranked choice voting does potentially change election results, because with plurality, it's simply whoever gets the most votes. The objective of ranked choice voting is to have a candidate cross the 50% threshold. Next slide. So what should we expect? One thing we do just want to allow voters to understand that it's going to take longer. When you have multiple contests where you are ranking voters, it of course is going to take a little longer when you're voting in person or when you're filling out your mail ballot at home. So we are trying to set the expectation just to ensure that people understand that when they're voting in person, when they're either using the touchscreen device or using the paper ballot, ranking will inherently take longer. We will have guidance at vote centers around ranked choice voting. We do appreciate that there may be people who show up on election day. They walk into a vote center, they see that ballot, and they say, "What is this?" because they're unfamiliar or have not received information about ranked choice voting. So we will have individuals who are on site to explain the ranked choice voting process. We will also have informational materials at vote centers. When voters get their mail ballots in the mail, we will also have information in the mail ballots. And even if you are planning to vote in person, we are encouraging people to use that mail ballot as a guide. That mail ballot can essentially be your vote plan, and you can use that to guide how you're going to vote when you go into a vote center, and that can actually cut down on some of the wait times. And so those are things we're really encouraging people to do. Use that mail ballot as a guide, even if you don't plan to vote using the mail ballot. As far as the results are going to look very different because we have to be able to display in a clear way how the rounds of tabulation operate. Because during each round of tabulation, a candidate will come off of the ballot and those votes will be redistributed to other candidates. And so we need to make sure that viewers of that information have trust in the process and they can ensure and see how those votes are distributed, because we need to make sure we're being transparent and we need to ensure that people understand the integrity of the process. Results will still be posted on the website, and we will still provide results on election night. However, we will not be able to provide full rounds of tabulation on election night because it will require us to have all of the ballots in hand before we can do final and complete rounds of tabulation. And as you know, with mail ballots, we get a lot of mail ballots on election day, and even with our mail ballot drop boxes and through the U.S. Postal Service. And so with the number we typically get on election day, we will not be able to process all of those ballots on election night. But what you will get results for on election night, all of the in-person votes will be displayed, and all of the mail ballots that have been processed to date will also be part of the tallies that we provide on election night. So we will have some information. However, all information will not be provided on election night, but that's no different than what we've always done. Because we get so many mail-in ballots on election day. We've gotten up to 30,000 ballots on election day. And because we have 100% signature verification and we have to go through and process all of those mail ballots, it's not something that happens instantaneously. But we will be working to get results out to the public as soon as possible to ensure that we are providing updates in a timely manner. Next slide. So just some of the education and outreach we're doing. We do have a ranked choice voting page on our website. We have a resource lab here at our headquarters office at 1015 Half Street, where you can come in. We have voting equipment set up. We have paper ballots. We have informational materials. You can get familiar with the process of what the touchscreen is going to look like and how to navigate the screens using ranked choice voting. You can pick up palm cards, frequently asked questions. We're also engaging in in-person and virtual speaking engagements. We also have an election tabulation simulator tool or app that will be available on our website. And we're hopeful that that should be available in the next few days. We just got the invoice for that today. So we are signing the contract and we will have that available. But that will be an exercise that will allow users to walk through the RCV exercise as it pertains to DC. You may have seen some models on YouTube where you can go and make selections and it will give you a visual showcase of what the results look like, but that model may not be applicable to DC. What we post on our website will absolutely be applicable to the way RCV is implemented in DC. We are working on an explanation video that will be available on our website. And of course, we always produce a voter guide and we will have informational mailers. And I believe I heard that some of the postcards were received as early as today. Next slide. So I just want to really reiterate that we are available, willing, and eager to come out to do voter education and outreach events. You may belong to a nonprofit, you may belong to a civic association, but please spread the word. We're visiting senior centers, we're visiting schools. We are trying to cast a very wide net to get the word out about ranked choice voting. Even if you want to come and just pick up palm cards to hand out to your neighbors, every effort is appreciated. We have said we cannot do this alone. We are making every effort to reach residents and voters where they are. We are visiting churches. We are visiting rec centers. So if you have ideas or suggestions or organizations and you would like us to come speak, please reach out to us. We are happy to accept engagements. We may have to juggle schedules a little bit, but we will absolutely find a way to ensure we get someone to any speaking engagement that you have before us. So I'm going to stop there because I have found that the most fruitful part of these presentations really is with the questions and answers. And we really like to leave as much time as possible for Q&A. So I don't know if there are Q&As in the chat, if someone is monitoring that, or if people want to raise their Zoom hands, but I will allow that to be monitored as you see fit.
Monica, I am monitoring the chat. There are some links to the websites for CCCA, and also for the Board of Elections in the chat, but there are no questions as of yet.
Okay, great.
And Monica, would you prefer to call on folks yourself, or would you like me to call on for you?
I'll allow you to do so.
Okay. And Samantha and I can alternate on that. So I'll start with Peter Goslin.
Yeah, thank you, Director Evans. First of all, a specific question. Could you go to mistake example 2? I think that's the one where the person voted 1, 2, and 3 for the same candidate. So you said that it's valid for the first round. It's not valid for but you only crossed out the second round. Is it not valid for both for any subsequent round to the first?
Correct. It would not be valid for any subsequent round. And essentially because that vote would remain with that candidate unless that candidate comes off of the ballot.
I
And
see.
so for second and subsequent rounds, we will only move to those rounds once that person comes off. So even if they have voted for the same person 5 times, that person would come off after that first time, and then the subsequent votes for 2, 3, 4, and 5 would not be valid because the candidate would not be there any longer.
Okay. And then just a question about election night. I mean, of course, nobody quite knows how everything's going to spill out, but is it your assumption that you will be declaring winners in the same way that you have all along, or that it's more likely that because of all this tabulation, people will not know they've won until the day after or several days after?
Well, to be clear, the Board of Elections has never declared a winner on election night. We do not officially declare a winner until we certify the election. And so even with the traditional way we voted going back to 2024, we get so many mail ballots after election night. A lot of times you cannot even accurately declare a winner on election night. But we have always tried to maintain messaging that even though AP may declare a winner, candidates may declare themselves winners. And in instances where a candidate is unopposed, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they're the winner, but DC Board of Elections will not do so until we certify the election. So we will continue to release election results as we process ballots, but we will not declare a winner. Now,
Let me just could I just
Absolutely.
modify the question, which is so that do you think that you will need to make because of tabulation, do you think you're gonna that the you will be issuing more cautions about how to interpret the night of results than you would have in other elections?
Absolutely. And we also plan to hold a media day where we're inviting the press in to explain so that it will help to educate them on what the results mean so that they are reporting accurately and not calling winners prematurely. So that's part of our education as well. And the thing that we're still working on, jurisdictions have released RCV results in different ways. Some jurisdictions only release that first choice um, vote throughout the rounds of tabulation. So they don't actually do rounds of tabulation. They just keep updating the first round. Some jurisdictions will run interim rounds of tabulation, but then as they get more ballots, they'll have to rerun the whole rounds of tabulation based on new votes. We have heard pros and cons both ways. For instance, if we go through election night and go through all of the rounds of tabulation based on the ballots we have on hand, that is going to look very different once we process, say, 30,000 more ballots. And so once you go through those rounds of tabulation, somebody may come off the ballot, but once we process 30,000 more ballots, the landscape could look very different. And we have heard and received feedback that actually has people questioning the integrity when they see candidates coming on and off the ballot based on more and more votes coming in. Are we doing something behind the scenes? Do we see someone is losing, so now we're creating or ginning up, more votes? And so we really want to be as careful as we can to get it right. And so right now, I can just be honest and say we're leaning in the direction of just continuing to update that first round of results so people can see who is leading in the first round. And then once we get all of the ballots, we will begin the tabulation rounds where someone comes off. But we have been told that it is a little unsettling when voters see someone come off of the ballot and then back on the ballot, off the ballot, back on the ballot, and not fully understanding how the tabulation process works.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll move to the second one, but just as one clarification, if somebody is over the 50%, would you announce that the evening of the election?
We would not, because more ballots are still coming in. And so that 50% would be based on the current denominator of ballots in hand.
Okay.
And so as we get more ballots, the denominator changes. And so it could actually push someone else over the 50%.
Right. Okay. Carol Grunwell was the next hand up.
Yes, Ms. Evans, thank you very much for that presentation. It was very clear and very helpful. I just want to make sure that people who vote on Election Day still have the option to use paper ballots.
Yes,
They do. Thank you.
yes, we will have paper ballots and electronic touchscreen or the ballot marking device
Right.
at the
Right.
vote centers as we always have.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, and we will also have visuals at the vote center. So people will be able to see what a properly marked ballot looks like and some things that would cause their ballot to become inactive. We're planning to place some of those visuals right in the voting booths so that those who are voting by paper and throughout will see those visuals. And again, we will have technical assistance on site to assist voters who need help.
Right. That's great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We have a related question in the chat, which is when are you permitted to start opening mail-in ballots?
We begin opening mail ballots when we get them. We just cannot begin tabulating or processing those mail ballots until election night. And so we have a pretty extensive process. And while I'm mentioning this, I will invite people to come and view the process. When we begin logic and accuracy testing, when we test our voting equipment, when we begin processing mail ballots, these operations are open to the public. And we will have information and a press release about how you can contact us to view. But as far as processing those mail ballots, once we get mail ballots, we immediately run them through our equipment, and there's an intelligent mail barcode. And so that is what informs the tracker. So for those of you who may choose to track your mail ballot, that is when you'll see a notification update on the receipt of your mail ballot. But receipt does not mean processed. And so once we get those ballots, we run them through, but then we have to go through a process of removing the flaps so that the signature is identified. And once we do that and we identify the signature, we run those ballots again and it captures the signature. We have 100% signature verification, so we verify the signatures. Once ballots are verified for that signature, then we have teams of individuals opening those ballots. And so those ballots that are deemed good signatures, we know they're good ballots, so they start removing the secrecy sleeve from the outer envelope. Once that secrecy sleeve is removed and that outer envelope is placed aside, then we can no longer trace that ballot with the voter. And so that ensures an anonymous vote. And so once we have all of those secrecy sleeves, that's when we start removing ballots from secrecy sleeves and prepping them for tabulation into our 950 tabulation equipment. So all of that takes time, and we have teams of people. We hire temporary workers doing this process. But you can imagine that with the number of mail ballots, and for the last few elections, more voters have voted by mail than in person. And so it's a pretty robust operation to ensure that we are processing those. So we can actually open ballots prior to election night and we can start processing them, but we will not push the tabulation button on the equipment until election day, where those actual votes are uploaded into our system.
Since you mentioned how many mail-in ballots you get roughly, there is a follow-on question. What percentage is 30,000 mail-in ballots of the estimated total ballots cast? In other words, what percentage of the ballots that you get of the total ballots are mail-in?
As far as what we get on election night, I can pull up some statistics if you give me a moment. And while I'm pulling that up, I don't know if there are any other questions.
We have several other questions waiting.
Yeah. Do we want to see Simone Ross's hand is next on my screen? Simone?
Right.
Thank you. And thank you, Director Evans, for your very helpful presentation. I just have two questions. One, clarifying. I think I may have misunderstood, so I just want to make sure. I think you indicated when you were showing one of the sample ballots that if you vote for the first person not the second person, and then the third and fourth, that effectively the way that ballot gets read is your third and fourth become 2 and 3. But I just wanted to make sure I understood.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Whereas if you skip 2 consecutive people, then you no longer read that particular contest. So
That is correct. And it is at the point of that
Okay.
consecutive skip. So you are
Thank-
correct.
Thank you. And then my second question was, in one of your earliest slides, and I may have seen it a little late, but I think I saw that every race on the ballot, regardless of whether it's a primary or a general, and regardless of whether it's federal or local, now will be ranked voted. Is that correct?
As long as there are at least 3 candidates.
And
so there is a possibility that you will have some contests on the ballot that will be subject to RCV and some that will not. And I know, for instance, with some of the ANC races, you may not have 3 people. Some individuals run unopposed, or there may just be 2 candidates. So in those instances, it would be the traditional way we voted in DC.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Thomas Sneeringer?
Yes, thank you. If a voter made a mistake such that the ballot was rendered inactive for that contest, would that then reduce the denominator that constitutes, the body you have to be more a majority of?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they would no longer have an active vote in that particular contest. But it would not necessarily apply to other contests on that ballot.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I see Commissioner Grunewald.
Yes. Ms. Evans, so this is very interesting. So would you please discuss the situation in which a voter only wants to vote for one candidate and why this is a good or not good idea? Will they be disadvantaged in some way if they see the whole panoply of candidates and decide only to vote for one? Can you discuss the ramifications of that, whether that's a good or a bad idea? Thank you.
Certainly. And of course, that is absolutely a voter's choice. A voter may vote for 1 or any number between 1 and 5. I will not say whether it's a good or a bad idea, but I will just talk about the result of doing so. So if that voter only votes for 1 candidate, as long as that candidate remains on the ballot, there's no harm. However, if that voter's candidate, that one choice, receives the fewest number of votes at any point before someone receives 50%, then their candidate comes off of the ballot, and then they no longer have a voice in subsequent rounds of tabulation.
Right. Thank you. I've had that question from a couple of constituents, so thank you for asking for answering my question. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And just to pull up a few statistics from the 2024 general election. And so we had about 173,561 mail ballots. And so we had about 52% voting by mail. And then we had 155,310 voting in person. So about 53% of the voters chose to vote by mail. And so I can do the math quickly if I can find my calculator. Which is somewhere. I'm glad you can't see my desk right now because it looks a little messy, but
Probably would be in the high 40s, right? Like 47, 52.
yes,
47.
roughly. I'm good. So
Are those the only two choices, is by mail or in person? Then it's going to be 47%.
Yes.
There is another question that might be relevant here. Would the presidential contest possibly be RCV also?
Yes.
I think this slide says yes. Right?
Yes, that is correct. And so we have received several questions in particular about the general election, where you have candidates from different parties. And we've been asked the question, so if there are hypothetically 3 candidates on the ballot, you have someone from statehood Green, Republican, Democrat. Am I required to rank all 3? Do I have to rank somebody from statehood Green? Do I have to rank someone from the Democratic Party? And in those instances, just like any other instance, you do not. And so, again, how you vote is your choice. But I just suggest people vote their conscience and how they see fit. If there's someone in any contest you don't feel comfortable ranking, then there's no requirement for you to do so. And that's with any contest, whether it's in the primary or the general election.
Okay, thank you. I see Peter's hand up again, Commissioner Goslin.
Yeah, just following on to the question of whether to vote for your first choice and only your first choice. And this is a question that I don't think you would want to answer, but could you point people to sites where people who are involved with elections are speculating about what strategies are? I can imagine, for example, in a race where you have somebody you want to see win, but then you're concerned that if they don't win, you want somebody, and it's going to be a close election. I could have, for example, imagine wanting to rank them somewhere, but not as a second choice, because then you're going to end up with too close for your favorite candidate.
Yep.
I only ask this because this is a way people could get, if they could look at some speculation on this, they could get more familiar with what's at stake in doing it this way versus the old-fashioned way. Are there places that you could point to on the web where people are trying to think through strategies like this, to just let us have a sort of mind teasers here?
There are strategies available on the website. Some of them are more credible than others. I've looked at them. We will not be recommending any, nor will we suggest people do so, only because that's not our role.
I understand.
Our role is to educate, but I will say they exist. I've even heard about people looking to statisticians to see, is it more beneficial if I'm the front runner, but I may not get 50%? How should I tell my voters to cast their subsequent votes to benefit me? So I've heard those stories. There are already people in DC who are campaigning on "Make me your number 2."
Oh, boy.
So I can't say what their strategy is. I don't know what their strategy is. I haven't asked, but these are just things I've heard.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Grunewald, do you still have a question?
I do. Yeah, I have another question. Yeah. So, I started thinking back to the days of the hanging chads, and I think that the potential for confusion is greater now than ever before. I think that the fact that that education is so important to having a successful election under these rules. There's as Peter mentioned, some people may feel that they're compelled, or they feel that they're supposed to vote. They are supposed to vote and rank 3 choices when they don't have to. This could really be quite interesting to see how things turn out. I think education is extremely important um, to this effort.
You're absolutely right. And you bring up hanging chads, and I had to smile because that is essentially what brought me to the world of elections. I started my career in elections at the Election Assistance Commission, which was formulated after the 2000 election with the hanging chads in Florida. And so the Help America Vote Act was formed, which founded the Election Assistance Commission. And that's where I started my career in elections. So I just had to smile. But you're absolutely right. And to be honest, I wouldn't say it's just ranked choice voting. I think there are a lot of things that are sowing seeds of distrust and confusion. And so we are just trying our best in DC to rise above some of the mis and disinformation that's out there. We're trying to do everything we can to properly educate and to ensure that we are available to be experts, technical assistance providers. We are training others to do the same. We are even working with our site coordinators who traditionally do not begin working with us until vote centers open. But a lot of them have been with us for very many years, and they intimately understand our work. And so for some of them, we've already started training them, and some of our election worker trainers have also been with us for a number of years. And because they train our election workers, they again are very keenly aware of how we operate. So we're looking to really get some more ambassadors, get people trained, and do what we can to canvass the city. We're also looking to have many ward-wide events in addition to town halls and meetings and attending association and ANC meetings and civic association meetings and nonprofit meetings. I was at the Chamber of Commerce 2 weeks ago, so we're really trying to meet people where they are. But you are absolutely right. If people are not properly educated and if we do not get the word out, it can really change the outlook and the outcome of the election. So we're going to do everything we can to educate and to provide opportunities for people to understand. And if they don't understand, to allow them to ask questions, come in. More materials. People learn differently, which is one of the reasons we're trying to make things available in different formats, whether it's paper, whether it's a video, whether it's a PowerPoint, whether we have little vignettes through the app that we will roll out. So we're really trying to use a number of different methods to make sure people understand it and that they know it's coming even.
It's one of the reasons we chose February to have this meeting, because we felt that it was really important to get correct information out early so that the incorrect information didn't have time to get in before the election. So we were really happy that you were available to join us tonight. And Gary Thompson has had his hand up for a while, so we'll recognize Gary.
Well, thank you. I was going to mention I had the chance to vote in the mock election on the digital display. And the first time I did it, I found it to be pretty obvious and intuitive, not to repeat a row or repeat a column. But also I wanted to mention that when you're on the digital screen, it will prohibit you from voting in the same column twice. So you can't pick like two number ones. Also at the end, it re-reviews your choices. So at least if you're voting digitally, whether it's early or on the election day, there's a couple of ways that the screen will help keep you from making a mistake. Obviously, those things don't apply if you're voting, by mail, you're sitting at your kitchen table. But hopefully with a lot of time, it'll be pretty straightforward. I found the written ballot to be really straightforward and pretty easy to understand. Then I also wanted to emphasize that our election workers are fabulous. And some of you may be election workers, people who have been doing this for a long time. And we're going to, at each vote center, we're going to have a specially trained RCV person to assist people as they encounter, perhaps for the first time, the concept of RCV, because some people won't attend sessions like this. So we're really ramped up on the election worker front as well. So hopefully we're building enough things into the system to make it work as well as possible.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Nagy has her hand up.
I think Jim Nash had his hand up.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Liz.
Sorry.
Yeah, and thank you, Ms. Evans, for a very clear presentation. I wanted to be sure that I understood your presentation properly in the event that I am confronted with 3 or more candidates, and I like one, and I hate all the others equally. What I should then do is vote only for one. Is that right?
Well, we do not tell you how to vote.
No, but I mean, as long as I hate them all,
if you hate them all equally, that may be your preference because you say there's no way I can cast my vote for that individual. And to be honest, we have received ballots in the past where people have turned in a ballot and for a particular contest, they won't vote for anyone. And so, you can make your statement by doing that. And so, of course, they know that, they're not going to have a voice in that contest, but that's how they feel. There's no way they want to vote for anybody in that particular contest. So that is absolutely fine. I can't tell you, yes, do that. But if you do that, I would understand. And people have voted like that in the past. And one thing I would say, even with overvotes and undervotes, that is a traditional way that voters have expressed themselves in DC for a while. We have had people who have turned in a completely blank ballot where they vote for no one. And we hear the rationale is they want to receive voter history. Some voters are very proud that they have voted in every election, but there may be an election where they're not enthusiastic about any of the candidates on the ballot. And so to maintain their voting record, they will submit a blank ballot, which is perfectly fine.
Well,
so
I have done that too,
person.
but you could I did that via write-ins, and your presentation did not include the write-in option, but I'm assuming the write-in option will remain. And how would that work with the ranked choice voting?
So we're actually looking at refining how that works. And so we need 3 named candidates. So as long as there are 3 named candidates, you will always have a write-in. So no matter how many candidates, there will be a write-in slot. And so you can always write somebody in. So that does not change. And so the thing that we are working on clarifying is that the write-in would not be a declared candidate for RCV versus non-RCV purposes because that person wouldn't be identified. And so if you have 2 candidates and then a write-in slot, that would not be an RCV contest because you don't have 3 named candidates when we create the ballot. So in that case, you can include a write-in, or if it's a contest where you have 4 candidates and a 5th write-in column, you can write in somebody in the 5th spot and then still choose to rank. Or if you have 20 candidates in a contest and you want your write-in candidate to be number 1, knowing that, and that may be your political statement. This is the person who should be, but I have a feeling that they may not be. So they may be the person that comes off of the ballot with the fewest number of votes, but then we would move to your second candidate. So people do have options as far as expressing how they feel about the candidates in a contest.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is a good time to ask this question. There was an earlier question about, could you please show the tabulation slide again? And this might be a time to do that. But what I also wanted to say is, in your outreach email is also in the chat. So please reach out to outreach@dcvoe.org to schedule RCV presentations like this one. So if you have an organization that you want to ask the Board of Elections to come to, that's how you reach out.
Okay. So here Yo-Yo has placed the tabulation slide back on the screen.
Thank
And
you.
if anyone has questions as they're viewing it, please feel free.
What happens if there are two candidates with the same number of small votes? Like if you had, let's say there was C and D both got 2 votes, would you remove both of them?
No, we would essentially draw lots.
Ah,
So
okay.
that has been anticipated as well. So
Good question.
Yeah. So is it conceivable to understand how a write-in would work on this page? On this
sure.
slide?
So and again, this is one of the reasons that interim results are never final. Because if you just have write-ins at this point, we don't know how many write-ins you have. And so we have to go through and actually count and ensure that they are eligible. Because quite honestly, the majority of our write-ins are not for eligible candidates. You would be amazed working at DC Board of Elections. The majority of our write-ins are for Tom Cruise or Daffy Duck.
Mickey Mouse?
We get Mickey Mouse as well.
Yeah.
Their pet dog.
Yes. So, we have to confirm that it is a legitimate write-in. And then we're also working through a process here at the board where in order for you to have a write-in, somehow we need to ensure that that write-in is able to declare their candidacy. Because one of the problems we have when somebody writes in John Smith, we don't know what John Smith that is. Maybe if it's an ANC contest and there's only one John Smith in that ANC, it's a lot easier to identify. But if this is a citywide at-large council race and somebody writes in John Smith, there's no way for us to determine who that person is. And so we hope that people who have a legitimate write-in candidate, that they've reached out to that candidate and that person, one, is even interested in being a write-in, and that they contact the board so that we can have a record of who that individual is. Otherwise, there's not a lot we can do as far as determining that's a valid write-in.
Do we have any other questions? I can't see with the shared screen. I can't see the full. There we go. Okay.
I do not see any questions, but I have a comment as, well, really 2 comments. I'm a teacher and I started off as a social studies teacher, and the comment about education being important, it's not only important to the ballot, but it's incredibly important all through school to have an educated citizenry who is informed, and teaching kids how to understand credible sources, especially credible sources on the internet, with the demise of papers that were had really strong journalistic standards and editors fact checking everything. So that's really important. I love that you are looking at different learning styles for all the voters out there, that and the different methods that you're using. That's really wonderful. Thank you.
And one thing I don't think I specifically addressed, but we are absolutely making sure we reach some of our vulnerable populations in DC. Even with the app that will be rolling out, it's already available in over 20 different languages. And so we're also working with the visually impaired, the hearing impaired. One of my goals, since I have sat in this seat, I am determined I would want to have a vote center in the District of Columbia that is all sign language. That is one of my personal goals, and we've been working with Gallaudet University. And before I leave this role, that's one of the things I want to see. So we're always trying to do innovative things, and we're always trying to make sure we're being as inclusive as we can. And we are open to suggestions. I never say or think that I have all the answers. And so as you are talking to neighbors, as you're talking to friends, if people have particular pain points, if you feel as though there are things that aren't resonating, please reach out to us, because we can absolutely include that in our presentations. It may be something we need to include in our postcard mailers that go out, in our voter guide. So we just encourage you to reach out to us, because we really rely on people. Don't sit there and, if we do something poorly, I own it, but don't just let us remain in a space of poor production. Please help us get better.
Our community is known for the large number of senior centers and senior population. And I worked with several of them, and many people do not have a computer, or if they have a computer, they're not skilled at using it. So telling people to go to the website is very frustrating in that situation. And if you can go to like Ingleside and Knollwood and places like that and have somebody do the PowerPoint presentation in front of them, it would be really helpful, because when I was running for ANC, my huge vote block came from seniors from Ingleside and Knollwood and the places like that. So they are voters, and they want to know what's going on. So I would target those areas.
Absolutely. And to your point, just today, I scheduled 4 presentations at senior buildings.
Excellent.
In persons, and we're going to take equipment, and we're going to have paper ballots. And so we are even advertising. We are in the process of creating a flyer that can be posted throughout the senior center, so that people don't have to rely on the internet or computers. So I appreciate that. And that is absolutely one of the target populations for us to address. And it's a very important one, because I say, as long as we live, we'll always be there in that target population of seniors at some point. And I hope that someone is as kind to me as I want to be to them. And, it's unfortunate that everybody doesn't organically think about every member of our city, every registered voter, every resident, as someone you need to reach. And it is my goal to reach people where they are. We have outreach to the homeless population. We go into rehab facilities. Every type of facility you can think of in DC, we have some sort of outreach plan for education.
Thank you. Laura, did you want to take over?
I see Commissioner Nagy has a question.
Yeah, thank you. To your point about reaching out, a couple of different things. I have the senior living facility in my SMD. It's Regency House, which is public housing. Actually, and I would love to see them be able to have a presentation like this. So I don't know, maybe we can work together to try to get something done. It's a little bit complicated to try to get into Regency House, I have found over time, but I'd like to give it a stab, take a stab at it. And there are other senior living on Connecticut Avenue, in senior living houses on Connecticut Avenue, not in my SMD. So I won't go there. But to your point about reaching out to people in the neighborhood, you talked about flyers and palm cards and things like that. How would we as commissioners get our hands on that kind of material so that we could distribute it to our constituents and to people generally in the
Absolutely.
ANC?
We have those materials available here at our headquarters office in the event that you're not able to get here, and we can make arrangements to drop some off to you. So if you reach out to our outreach line, we can absolutely get those materials to you.
Okay, that would be awesome. Thank you very much. So I will do that. I will look forward to it. Thank you.
Please, thank you.
Okay, and I see Commissioner Grunewald has.
Yes, hi. I have a lot to say tonight, apparently. So, Ms. Evans, I was beaten to the punch by Mr. Thompson. I was going to contact you tomorrow to see if you could come to Ingleside, which is in my SMD. And I will contact your office tomorrow and Ingleside as well, to arrange a presentation. I think that would be fabulous. And Commissioner Bruce Sherman has Norwood in his SMD. He's not here this evening, but I know, knowing Bruce very well, he would be delighted to sponsor a presentation at Norwood. So we will be in touch with you tomorrow, both of us. Thank you.
Absolutely. And if I'm ever unavailable, we have other members of our team who are divide and conquer at this point. And we even have members of our staff, of our general counsel staff. So everyone is helping out with this effort. So look forward to hearing from you. And we will absolutely make an effort to accept, or even if we're not able to come on a given day, we'll find a day that works for everyone. But it's my goal is to not say no to any ask.
Ms. Kibede mentions that she's the public affairs specialist for Ward 3, so that we can reach out directly to her at her email address, which is ykebede@dcboe.org. So that would be ykebede@dcboe.org. Thank you for that offer. I responded to you.
Yes, and she has graciously been running the slides for me this evening. So thank you.
Well, this is just so encouraging, in such fraught political times as we have been living through, to see such a thoughtful and clear model and have faith in this electoral system that we're going to be using. It's like the first bit of good news I've had in a long time, I feel like, in some ways. So it's just really, really heartwarming to see. And I'm really happy. Thank you.
I'd like to also mention that the training tonight has been recorded and will be both on the ANC website and on the Chevy Chase Community Association website. So if you have friends or family who you would like to help educate, you can have them go to the website and sit through the training, and we can increase the number of people who are educated that way.
So a question related to that, do you all feel like you would not mind if we put your presentation, a link to it, up on the listserv or Chevy Chase Chatter, some of the social media?
That's fine.
Would that be okay?
Yes, that's fine.
We'll do that. I will do that once I get a link.
Okay, right. We have to save it to the cloud and then it generates a link. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And also, I just want to offer, we're always happy to come back. And if you receive questions from individuals who were not able to attend this evening, or if you think of something after you look through our materials and you want to shoot us emails with questions, the same email you use to schedule an outreach event, you can share questions there as well.
Well, on behalf of the Chevy Chase Community Association, and I'm sure Laura will say the same for the ANC, we really appreciate the time you spent with us, especially since you're homesick and have done this with a sore throat. And we appreciate Gary Thompson joining us as well. This has been very informative and just what we like to present to our community. So thank you both so much.
Yes, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
And thank you for coming, and look forward to everybody getting their ranked choice voting mailers. Mine just came today, so they're on their way. Everyone have a good evening, and thank you again so much, Monica, Ms. Kabede, and Gary Thompson, and also for the CCCA for co-hosting. This has been a great event.
Thank you for having us. Have a good evening.
Okay, good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Night.